What's up guys, it is that Panda guy. I'm here again with another video, and today we're going to be looking at some Dark Seal. We're just going to be chilling, I guess. We're probably going to just go G1 through 10 as normal, right? And the thing is, I don't really know, because I feel like I've looked at a lot of these brackets, and I feel like these brackets are so scuffed, you know? Like, I feel like, especially the top four, you'll have like a alliance like, a region like 26, 96, what is it, freaking 102, because 102 I think is a merger of like region 102, 100, and I forget what the other one was. I think it might be like 104 or something, but you know, it's a bunch of regions like that, and I'll show you guys the alliance later. And then you also have just B1, which is, you know, obviously 27 kind of as the outlier here, just in a really rough spot. Not only that, I feel like some of the other brackets are somewhat the same, although not on the same scale. It's just a little bit scuffed, you know. And this is probably a lot to do with actually the migration of it, because you know, you got to understand the matchmaking isn't only based off your, you know, strength. It's going to be somewhat based off of region age, you know. Like if your region is younger, you're probably going to get more favorable matchmaking towards regions that are more aligned with your region age, instead of maybe matching with region 1 or 2 or 3 if you're region 100, right? And that's going to be the case, right? So you'll have a lot more of these regions that might not be on the same scale, but they're just matched because they're kind of on a similar age, and it just makes it a little bit more quote unquote fair, right? So yeah, we'll kind of go through these and we'll talk a bit about them. And yeah, so we're gonna start off with I don't know why I keep saying region, but it's B1. We're gonna start off with B1. We got 4, we got 10, and we got 27. I feel kind of bad for 27. You know, I mean, like, even our battle ranking is nearly double theirs, and ours isn't even higher in this and highest in this bracket, right? Like, they're at 12 billion battle ranking, and we're at like 23 billion. 10 is at almost 27 billion. Like, this is so scuffed, and that's gotta really suck for these guys. I imagine it just sucks, man. Like, you know, these guys probably don't care to kind of sit in on this Dark Seal at all, and you know, I'd be kind of the same. You know, there's absolutely no point in participating in this one. But notice how many freaking towers there are. Freaking mad. I'm guessing these guys are gonna port out the zone 2 though. I think this Dark Seal is gonna be iffy. I don't know. We're probably gonna have our Metro sieged. I'm interested to see how that goes, what will happen. But yeah, I don't really have much to say on our bracket, honestly. We'll talk about B2 a bit though. I mean, you have 26, you have 16, you got 39. I think this one is gonna be a little bit weirder, because I don't know how 16 will get treated by 26, because I know, like, you know, there were a lot of good relations in that regard, but obviously a lot of the 16 players moved to 10, and then 16 got burnt by 26. So I'm sure there's a lot of I wouldn't say hatred, but they probably just aren't really on friendly terms with 26 anymore. So I mean, it's very possible they just get sieged on by 26, right? And I mean, oh yeah, there was also 39. I mean, I think this one's pretty obvious how it will kind of turn out. Like, no matter what, no matter how the allies are or whatever, 26 is probably going to dominate in this little bracket. Like, I just feel like these other alliances kind of stand no chance. Like, it doesn't really make much sense to me either why 36 is in here, or sorry, 39 is in here. They aren't like a, I wouldn't call them a weak region, but they aren't, you know, some almighty region that kind of deserves to be in this bracket, right? I feel like there are other regions that are definitely stronger than them that might be more deserving in this bracket. I mean, you know, they're not weak. I feel like they could defend if they really tried. You know, I mean, their alliance strengths together are pretty strong, but in comparison, it's just like, you know, this is not a good bracket. This isn't a good matchup for them. So I don't know, man. I honestly think, unless they're kind of T6 players are baiting maybe attacks or something, or maybe like T5s or something, maybe want to bait a few swarms. I don't really think there's much else to do here. I don't think it's very worth it. I don't think defending Metro is worth it. I think in regions like these, it's really hard, because if you get your Metro, you know, totally sieged and stuff, even if you want to, you know, go in the defensive, I feel like if they have complete field control and they're just melting your marches, and if you're not able to kind of make it in, or you're not able to put up enough pressure, like I saw DHX last Dark Seal, right? And I will say DHX wasn't really able to take full field control until the rally was down. But what would happen is they would put a lot of pressure on this corner, right? And even if they couldn't take over the field control, this was enough pressure to let people who wanted to reinforce just waddle right through without getting targeted. And this was plenty, you know. I don't think that 39 kind of has the same strength to put enough pressure, right? Like if you have like maybe 10, 20 T6 players, you can maybe focus enough strength to make leeway for your players, right? But if you have like 3, 4 T6 players, just an example, versus 20, 30, it's like, what can you do at that point? You know, like you're not gonna be able to put enough pressure, and even if you are, it's not really worth it. And then if you're not able to keep Metro full, the trades are just gonna be bad. You guys get my point, really. Like, this just isn't really a favorable kind of defense here. All right, and we're gonna go on to B3 really. B3, I think, is kind of in the same spot. I'm not really gonna look at these regions because I just feel like no offense, but I'm not gonna like go through them really. Like if I feel like this is just stupid matchmaking. But I think 96 is just out of vast advantage. I think a lot of us have already seen how strong 96 is. They're a really strong group. If they want to kind of control field, and there's only like a few regions that can really put up enough fight to kind of control field against them, right? Like I just don't see 41 or 54 really holding much of a chance against them. I think it's even the same in this case, right? You have 22 and you have 20, and you know, same thing. They're not weak, but in comparison, they're just really nothing to really scoff at, right? I think that 102 is just merged with a lot of these other regions, and overall they just have a lot of whales, and kind of fighting this, especially if they're coordinated, it's just not going to work, right? You see a lot of these guys, by the way. These guys are freaking beefed up, man. You guys see this? Crazy. Look at this. These guys came in with the merger. I forget what other region it was, but I know that Region 100 players definitely moved down. I'm not sure how many of them did, but I know like a good chunk of them kind of merged down in 102 to make a mega group, right? Yeah, these guys were like at what 10, 12 billion before, I think. Like they were at 10 to 12 billion might before, and now you kind of see what's left of them. Not really a lot. All right, so we're gonna now go look at B5. I mean, I think B1 through 4 are mostly tellable, right? Like you can kind of understand who just has the vast advantage of strength here, and like just a lot of these alliances are just gonna get crushed. It's just not worth it. All right, so we're gonna look at B5. We got 9, we got Region 14, and we got Region 15. The thing is, it says like Region 15 as, you know, 14 billion compared to these two 12 billions. I will be fair and say like both these regions. Well, I haven't really looked at 14 yet. At least right now, because I feel like they might have changed up a bit. I think 14, the only issue I've always had is they just don't have enough whales and are too many like free-to-play or low spenders, right? And then you kind of have a lot of these big players come in. And I will say real quick that 15 had a lot of their big players migrate out, or a lot of their alliances or just people have left the region. But that being said, they are still kind of holding strong. 7.6 bill alliance right here. I mean, the other alliances, I'm sure, still have some presence. Yeah, right here. I'm not sure about Arkham. Arkham kind of dumped out their players. I guess joined Thor. But yeah, I mean, 15 definitely lost a lot of their players, but they're still going pretty hard, kind of considering all in all. We'll kind of look at 9 before we look at 14. I mean, 9, I think it's always just been kind of a hot 9 here that I really paid attention to. I think like they're kind of same scale mostly. I mean, I think 15's probably slightly stronger just with the overall like player advantage, but yeah, probably whale-wise as well. 14, we'll kind of look at 14 real quick. Okay, so 14 is the one I'm always skeptical about in like brackets like these. I just don't think they have enough whales, right? I don't think they have enough T6, not even whales, like just T6 players, you know? They just don't have enough T6 players to usually compete, even if they want a field fight. It's like you get enough T6 players in the field kind of holding the holding it, you're just screwed. And I mean, yeah. I mean, I might be proven wrong though. I might be proven wrong. I've seen 14 pull off some pretty cool stuff, some pretty insane stuff you wouldn't expect. I mean, I guess R4W does have some good players here, but you know, I mean, I guess you can see. I think it's like more of an overall strong region, just not enough like T6 players in comparison. Okay, we're gonna now look at the next bracket. This one, the might feels kind of off to me, right? I feel like I feel like it's kind of obvious to me who's like stronger here, but So 42, it definitely has them as a stronger region, at least, like with 14 billion. And then you have this one at like 13 billion and almost 12 billion right here. But I looked at 14 in comparison to 43 and 48, and I think this might have to do with the fact that there's probably more of a focus on like one or two alliances, whereas these other regions are maybe more spread out into like four alliances. But I do think that overall these guys just have a lot more T6 players, even if they, maybe like complete number advantage. I think they just have a lot more T6 players, and a lot of these are or should be from region 17, right? So you do have a lot of whales or just dolphins here, I guess. But I don't know, man. I think there's a lot more just T6 fighters here. Like this alliance is almost 10 billion, which is pretty insane. Then you have, sorry, hiccup. Then you have Dot here, who, I mean, they don't have as many T6, but they still have good numbers. But I mean, we can look at 43 and we can look at 48 here. And like I said, I think that the big reason that I probably am thinking like I am is because they are more spread out between alliances. But I still think it's kind of like a lack of T6 players. Like I think someone like Landshark is a good fighter, right? But he obviously can't carry everything, and he can't fend off 10 T6 players just swarming him down at a time. It's just too much work. He's gonna melt too fast, and the trades you get there just aren't really worth it. But if it lets me freaking click on anything, holy. Yeah, I mean, I think 43 isn't doing too bad actually. I think they have like a decent amount, but I just think that 42 has too many, like too many people with T6 who can kind of maintain field presence. I think it's really a matter also of if they can coordinate all those players. Like if you have all those players, it's not going to matter if you can't get them all to coordinate together or all to work together. But I don't usually try to doubt leadership or people being able to coordinate a group, because usually I don't think that's too hard to do, especially if you have a good leadership or people are just kind of respectful of the leader themselves and kind of follow them to death. I think it's pretty easy to get them to coordinate. But I think here is like a really hard one, right? Like yeah, I think there's just not enough T6 guys in 48. I think it is very possible for both these regions to still hold their metro. I think it would be probably better if these two work together to maybe kind of go to each other's regions if their metros got sieged. Maybe fight off on the field together, kind of work on it together. Because I think like they definitely can work together with numbers and stuff if they really wanted. That could be an interesting kind of metro fight. But I think like I said, it's just a lack of T6 players, and if it comes down to one region versus one region, then they're gonna get like utterly really bad trades in the field, and that's what like the big issue is. And it kind of goes to that one point that I said earlier. You don't even need as many like T6 players, right? You don't need as many whales. You don't need as many like so and so many players. I think like I said with DHX, if you have just enough, even if it's like 10 T6 players versus 20 T6 players, all you need to do is be able to put enough pressure on one side of the field. And if you can actually have a better activity range of these guys, you can kind of push that field presence, and then you can maybe have people slip in while you're making leeway for them, right? And the thing is, when I say 10 versus 20, you also got to understand if you're kind of fighting in a situation like that, right? You have a lot more players who are able to kind of fight closer to their base, right? Because if we focused, here, let me give you guys an example. Let's say we had to defend our metro, right? Let's say we got all of our T6 players on this corner of the metro, and I saw this with DHX last time, right? They put up a ton of pressure on this like one corner of the field, and they were able to keep a lot of pressure there, and the people were able to slip through to metro because you just weren't able to kind of gatekeep all of them because there were just too many marches over here. That's the kind of thing I'm referring to. And the thing is, it's much harder to trade well as the enemy, even if you have an advantage of T6 players, because one, even if you want to kind of get on their side where they're pulling in all these players at, you have to teleport up behind, and then you're marching further away, as well as like you can get jumped on the way of marching, meaning you're just going to get melted down, right? So it's probably better for you to kind of group up with your players in one corner, right? And that also means that you're just going to be marching much further, meaning that it takes a lot longer for you to refresh. Whereas in comparison, these players can maybe just walk back like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, boom, refresh my marches, I'm back out, I'm fighting. Whereas these guys maybe got to march 20, 30 seconds to get over and help with the field combat. So I think like that's the kind of thing I'm referring to when I say like 10 versus 20. So you can definitely have good trades, you can have good fights there, and you can just make make it to the point where the enemy's just like, yeah, Metro isn't worth it. We're just trading really bad. We're getting a lot of deaths, and we're just kind of feeding kills at this point. And I think that's kind of the situation like some of these regions should try to put themselves in if they really want to defend their Metro. I think like defending Metro is weird though. I don't honestly care about it. Like if you had to ask me personally, and it came down to maybe a long-term fight, I just don't think it's very worth it. I don't care enough to defend Metro, like with every freaking everything in my body, right? I just don't care. I think like if you lose Metro, it's whatever. I mean, it is a part of the game, and it's literally for 2 days, guys. It's literally for 2 days. You get that Metro back right after those 2 days end. Okay, so don't make it a big deal. If you can't defend Metro, or if you don't want to, just don't do it. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think some regions have too much pride, though. I've noticed this so much, and then they end up getting really bad trades. They end up having a ton of deads, and then you're wondering why you lost 1,000,000 troops, right? You guys get my point there. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's go into the next. We got region 3, we got 13, and we got 17. This one is a bit more funky for me, right? I think 3 is still strong, overall strength. But the thing is, I've said this many times, and region 3 relies a lot on its main fighters. I think there's just too many people who aren't fighters here. I think there's just a lot of people who farm. And that's no offense at all of these guys. And the thing is, I still respect region 3. I still respect RPG, but I think RPG lost too many of their main fighters. Like the only one they have like left, and I say main fighters, I would kind of refer to whales or people who are able to just put up a lot of swarms, put up a lot of pressure on the field, and kind of carry that presence. I think like they just lost almost all those players, and the only one left is kind of this guy, right? And I mean, these other guys are, there are still some fighters here, obviously, but I think when you kind of lose that main presence or main leaders there, it's just bad, right? And I think RPG is still gonna be able to defend their Metro in full fairness. I don't think that RPG is gonna get like curb stomped here. Like this bracket isn't enough to curb stomp them, but I do think that they've lost like a big main presence here. I think they just lost a big main group of their players, and I don't think they're gonna be able to go offensive if they want to. I just don't think they have the strength to. Next, we're gonna be looking at region 13. I think region 13 is kind of in the same situation. You guys saw like Sim here was what, like 8 billion might-ish, right? Maybe higher. I think maybe even close to 9 billion. But these guys were going crazy, right? Like these guys were strong. They had a lot of T6 players, and boom, now you see that Sim is down to like 4.1 billion, right? Like that's down over half of their might. And I mean, it just is what it is, right? That's a part of the migration event. I don't even think this region, I would like to assume that the region wasn't unhappy at this point, right? Like I think a lot of the players were finally able to settle down, have some peace and stuff. I think this region was pretty well, but the migration event just came. Probably a lot of people who wanted to join their friends, probably a lot of people who just didn't care to stay here anymore, etc., right? And that just made this region fall off, and that's kind of sucky, but it is what it is. And I think that they probably could still hold themselves just fine, but I mean, honestly, versus 17 now, I think 17 kind of has like the big grasp in this bracket, right? Like if 17 wanted to take 3's Metro, I think they honestly could. I think that 3 just doesn't have enough like players who could attack the field or even would attack the field. And I think it's the same with 13 now. Like even if they want to, they've lost most of their like T6 players. Even if they had the activity now, it's just gonna be really rough, and it's a matter of endurance at that point, right? Like I think 17's kind of the powerhouse in B7, right? That just is how it is. The other ones, all right, let's look at B8. I actually didn't check out B8 before this video. I looked a little bit through the brackets because I like to be able to have some talking points, right? Like I like to be able to just talk through this a little bit more smoother instead of stumbling too much. I didn't really look at B8, I just saw some region 100 something alliances. I mean, this group honestly looks like they have a decent player base, honestly. But I don't know, man. Like even if this is balanced, it's just, it looks like 168 might be the stronger group though, based off the overall combat power here. All right. I don't know why it doesn't let me click stuff. It's like it literally struggles with me, dude. It literally hates me. This game hates me. I mean, these guys probably have more whales. I think this bracket is probably more manageable, right? I think the alliances here are probably gonna be able to actually hold their Metro if they really want. I think there aren't like an overwhelming amount of kind of whales or T6 players or whatnot. So I think like field presence isn't going to be like the biggest issue. I think for this group it is, right? Like I don't know how they're the same. I don't know how they're even 10 billion like combat strength. Is it one of these side alliances? I don't understand. What the heck? How did these guys have what? I have to assume there's like a big migration after the event, right? Because there's no way these guys are showing up as 10 billion combat strength. This is crazy, dude. Is this real? I don't believe this. What the heck is this, man? I mean, I guess it's possible, right? But I just don't understand how these guys are put in the same bracket with these other two groups. So I take that back. 120 and 168, probably just fine in this bracket. I think 154, not so much, man. That does not look good at all, right? Like that's so weird. I don't understand how that works at all. All right, so now we got B9. B9, you got HAO here, so they're probably going to be doing pretty well. I think, like, especially in this lower bracket. I'm actually surprised that they're on par with with Region 55 here. I don't know who Region 55 are, to be fair. I mean, to be fair, this group isn't like hasn't really fallen off, though they have like fallen to a point where like they haven't completely fallen off. But I think they lost a lot of their whale base in the past, right? I think a lot of their whales kind of migrated out, maybe to join DHX or something. I'm guessing, but I mean they still have a pretty good amount of whales, and those mega whales would be putting in the main work, right? Like those mega whales are going to be going crazy. I think Olymp Olympia should be fine. Like I think they could honestly hold themselves just fine against this group, right? Like if they really wanted, but I don't know, man. Like, do they even care to? That's the question. I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if they really care to defend themselves. I know I saw these guys in B2 last time with DHX, and I know DHX and HAO actually have friendly relationships. So I would like to assume that maybe 98 and Olymp and stuff are gonna be kind of fine here. That's what I'd like to guess, but I also just don't know. All right, we'll look at 67 real quick as well. 67 is showing, at least on the might scale, as the weak group here. I mean, I don't know, man. I think these guys are doing pretty well too. I think all these regions are kind of balanced in this one. This is a weirdly more balanced one. I still think that 98 probably is stronger simply for the fact that they have Mega Whale. Like they just have that top guy, right? Like who's 300 million, and I feel like players like that kind of put up a lot of work. Be it on the field because they can just drain out multiple T6 players who are low spinners or just not spinners at all, and it's really a matter of who do we have to put on that guy to hold him down, basically, right? We'll kind of look at this last bracket here. We got 142, 143, and 161. So let's check it out. This one it looks like 142 is showing as by far the strongest, right? Strongest group here. I mean, they do have a pretty good upper player base here. Yeah, honestly, so far looking good. We're gonna have to look at their enemies to understand the full picture, though. It looks like this might be partially due to region age, this kind of matchup, because based off the combat strength, I'm imagining that these regions aren't really capable of defending themselves here, right? Like, yikes. Yeah, I don't see these guys being able to defend themselves. I just feel like some of the combat rating is weird. But I know it's supposed to be based off like the top 300 active players. But even then, I don't know, man. I feel like this is kind of wonky because it's kind of hard to match up really good matchmaking when you have maybe a group of T6 players and you have a really big group of T5 players, but they're obviously much more a majority. I mean, like this group isn't small, but I just don't see the players that they need to kind of maybe put up the field presence they need against 142, right? Just kind of rough. We'll look at 161 next. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious who's going to be coming out on top, especially when it shows that 161 is the lowest in combat strength there. And not only that, there's a single alliance kind of holding Metro. But honestly, I think like it gets to a point where it's like even if you have these other alliances around Metro, what are they really gonna do? And I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. I actually think that I kind of feel like 161 is more capable in this case than 143. Is that just me? I feel like there's just maybe more T6 guys. I feel like I measure a lot off T6, right? But I feel like that's what's going to be doing the main pressure. Like you really got to rely on those kind of T6 guys, because without them, who's going to be pushing the field? Who's going to be making room for people to actually get into Metro? Who's going to be, garrison captain type stuff, right? It's kind of what a lot of these people rely on. But I don't know, man. I think that my personal opinion is 142 might come out on top, and I think 161 might be slightly, I would say stronger, right? Slightly stronger than 143. I mean, they're weaker but stronger in a sense, right? I don't know, man. You guys give me your opinions. If you guys are looking forward to this Dark Seal, I feel like it's a little bit wonky because of the whole migration event as well. But you guys give me your opinions on that. So I do appreciate you guys, though. And I will see you guys in the next one. And that is it to the video. So you guys have a good day or night, though. And like I said, I will see you guys. That is it. And peace.